Good evening, everyone. This is Seth, Head of Operations here at QUOINE. I am joined by Marc O'Brien from the Crypterium project. We are very excited to announce that Crypterium will be listed on Cryptos in the next few days. Marc, welcome.
Thanks very much, Seth, and delighted to be online with QUOINE.
Great. So first of all, we spoke a little bit before, and I think it'd be really interesting for you to share with our community about what you were doing before you joined the crypto world and blockchain world.
Thanks, Seth. So for the last 25 years, I've been working in the payments industry, and I spent about 6 years working with MasterCard as a consultant. And then I joined Visa. I changed colors, I changed shirts, and joined Visa, and spent almost 15 years there. And the kind of roles that I ended up doing were general manager roles. I ran the Scandinavian region. I was based up in Stockholm. And then I went back to London, and I ran the UK and Ireland business. So I had full P&L experience, and managed to convert most of the market to Visa debit. But the most interesting project I did at Visa, working across the industry, was to deliver contactless cards and NFC payments in the UK, particularly with big banks, all of the big banks, including Barclays and the others, and Transport for London, so people can now ride the tube and the bus just using NFC phones or contactless cards. Mm-hmm. I left in 2014. After 15 years, I just wanted to be immersed in the fintech startup community. And years after working in big corporates, it was just a passion that I had to fulfill. I ended up doing some speed dating with a whole range of different startup companies, working with Techstars, Startup Bootcamp, and Level 39 in London. And I met a whole range of really exciting companies. One that is now a fintech unicorn is Revolut. I met the guys there. There were just two guys as founders with a great idea. I went on board as their first advisor, and saw them through the first 2.5 years of their journey. Mm-hmm. I then went to work with a range of other startups in adjacent spaces to the kind of FX proposition of Revolut. One is a digital tax engine called Taxamo, and a whole range of other companies. The last project I did before Crypterium, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute, is I worked with the Royal Mint in the UK. And the Royal Mint makes coins for 40 countries around the world, physical metal coins. And they wanted to consider going into the blockchain space with a gold tethered token. With gold in their vaults and a token that would be backed by physical gold. So that was the last project I did there.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they'll ever launch. Culturally, it's so different from their core business. But I know that there's a whole range of other gold-tethered tokens that have come out around the world. There's about 30 different propositions now. But the Royal Mint may or may not get there. Right. So that was the last project I did. And I joined Crypterium about 1 month ago.
Fantastic. Well, welcome to the role, and I'm sure that your experiences working with all those other startups and in the credit card industry is going to be really important as you take this next step in your professional journey. So before we talk about Crypterium and what's in store for the project, can you kind of share with us your first experience using a wallet or using a cryptocurrency and how that came about and what you learned from it?
Yeah, so I'll start differently and talk about the world that we know. And the world that we know is one of plastic cards. And when you look at the history of money, it's hard to believe that there was a time before the plastic card now, because certainly in the UK and Europe, one payment in two is now on a card, and cash is actually a smaller number of transactions than card payments here in the UK. So you can't envisage a world without a card, and the process for getting one is actually really easy. And what shocked me about my first crypto experience was how complicated it was to actually get a wallet and an ERC20 wallet. and actually buy Ether and put Ether into the wallet. I had to be helped through that process by a guy, another startup I'm working with called Jack, the JAAK. They're a music blockchain solution. And the guys had been talking about this thing called CryptoKitties. And I said, okay, look, help me through this process. And all I can tell you is I had to be helped through that process because it was so hard. And what it said to me is it's an early stage niche proposition for people that are really technologically savvy. And I think it's no surprise that there's only circa 10 million or less cryptocurrency holders in the world today because the process is so hard. And what attracted me to Crypterium in the first instance was the intention to make cryptocurrency accessible and easy to reach for millions more customers. And so Crypterium is all about helping people convert their crypto and spend with their crypto anywhere in the world that they would with fiat currency today. And second, to capture a new community of consumers who want to hold crypto, but want to do it in maybe baby steps and use a company like Crypterium to really help them through that process much more easily. And that's the ambition that we have.
Got you. So first of all, do I have you to thank that when I go to London and I ride the tube, I can use an Oyster card?
I'm definitely one of the key people that was involved in that journey. Transport for London themselves are really forward thinking, and they had a contactless card that was kind of a closed loop product called Oyster, and they were the people that we first spoke to at Visa, and it was actually a partnership that started the whole process with Barclays, Transport for London, and Visa. And now it's opened up to every bank and every scheme, so MasterCard and American Express also work as well. So it started about 10 years ago, and it's a long journey because all of the hardware has to be upgraded, and obviously that's a very costly process. And what's different about the payments world today is that we're moving more to a space where we just upgrade software because our phones are going to be capable of making the payment. So in order to add new functionality for payments, we actually are only looking at software upgrades. So when we think about Crypterium rolling out, we're looking at a software upgrade, not hardware upgrade. And that means that we can scale at a speed far, far quicker than the 10 years it took for contactless payments to take off.
Right. So let's talk about Crypterium and tell me about, first of all, the problem that Crypterium is attempting to solve and how it's different than some of the many other disruptive payment services and blockchain technologies that are trying to disrupt the existing, your former colleagues in the credit card services world. What is Crypterium trying to solve for?
So our end vision is that all consumers will be able to pay with their cryptocurrency anywhere in the world. And the challenge that we have today is that on the acceptance side of the business, in the merchant side, merchants still want to receive fiat currency. They want the stability of receiving the fiat currency because that's where all their cost base is in fiat still. But we can see a future where the merchant community in the world will accept crypto and we'll have crypto to crypto in every environment, particularly for the key cryptocurrencies. So what we have today is what I call a bridging problem. So in order to get ourselves to that future where everybody can actually use their cryptocurrency in any merchant environment in the world, yes, a day when those merchants will accept crypto, but today they want fiat. So the proposition for Crypterium is that if you hold your cryptocurrencies with Crypterium, First of all, we're going to offer security. We're going to ensure people's deposits that are with us in the same way that there's banking protections for people to hold fiat currency.
So would that be, can I just pause you there? Is that similar to like, well, in the US, we would have FDIC insurance?
Exactly alike that. And I mean, our target is to have a $10,000 insurance protection in our earlier iterations.
Okay.
May evolve that over time, but to give consumers confidence that they're working with a global, stable, secure proposition, we want to offer those kind of protections to the consumer. And the idea for the bridge that we want to build is that when the consumer has their cryptocurrencies with Crypterium, and they want to go to the point of sale or make an e-commerce transaction, they can actually use Crypterium anywhere. And we see that bridge means that we have to offer QR code type payments. They're huge in Asia, in Singapore, Malaysia, and China. We need to offer card payments. And when I say card payments, we're thinking about the virtual card that will be inside Apple Pay and Android Pay. But also where consumers really want a physical card, we will offer that on demand. We won't offer it as a part of our core service because we want to be fully mobile. But today, there's still a huge number of terminals that are not contactless ready. So we see that there is a need for that, and particularly in the US, where contactless rollout is a lot lower than other parts of the world.
Right.
So go ahead, Seth.
No, well, maybe you can tell us a little bit about how the role in the payment system that you're trying to help develop, what role the Crypterium plays in that. Take us through a journey of a payment that's done via, their NFC-enabled cell phone or some other light transaction.
Yeah, so what we will look to offer to Crypterium customers is the whole range of payment experiences that they could possibly have in the universe of a bank. And so if you think about a bank today, a bank will typically offer you a card. It will potentially offer you a QR way of paying. It'll also offer you IBAN functionality, so you can send money to international bank account numbers.
Yep.
And so we plan to offer all of those services. So you could imagine a Crypterium customer in the IBAN space will be able to scan an image or an invoice. So it could be an electronic invoice. We would do the machine reading of the invoice and generate a payment for a utility bill. So the customer could say, okay, I want to pay this utility bill by Crypterium. And they could either photo image it, or if it's an electronic invoice, click Crypterium to scan that, do machine read, and authorize the payment for their water, gas, electric bills. In the same way, when the customer wants to go to the grocery store, they will load Crypterium into their Android Pay wallet, and when they go to the checkout in the store, they'll be able to make an Android Pay payment. And what we will do, in terms of our back office, what happens, the customer will be selecting a primary cryptocurrency for us to draw down. And say, for they choose Litecoin as their primary currency, then every time they go to the grocery store and make a payment, we see the authorization that comes from the merchant, and we'll check that against their Litecoin balance. And on behalf of the customer, we'll make a trade, execute a trade, Litecoin to, let's say, for example, Japanese yen, and that trade will be made, and we will settle with that retailer in yen through the Visa or MasterCard network.
Got it.
So the consumer will feel like they're spending their cryptocurrency, and we're managing the conversion to the fiat currency for them.
Excuse me. Got it. So that's really what you've really done here, is you've allowed people to actually have a use case for their cryptocurrency holdings, and
Yeah,
doing it in a very seamless manner.
absolutely. And what we want to bring to Crypterium customers is all of the use cases that they would expect from their regular high street bank. We want to provide all of those services for them so that they can hold cryptocurrency and not need to feel that they have to hold fiat currencies. So providing the same utility that they would have. And I think as we move forward, we have an ambition to provide the other services of a bank, and the other services, of course, include lending. And so we're looking at crypto lending as well.
Sure. So when I first started learning about cryptocurrencies, specifically Bitcoin, say around 4 years ago, one of the first things I started understanding was the limitations on transactions per second, and how in some ways cryptocurrencies in the current state of blockchain technology doesn't necessarily lend itself for disrupting the existing payment systems developed by Visa, MasterCard. So as we all know, Bitcoin can handle something like 7 transactions per second. Ethereum, something, 12 to 15. I could be wrong, maybe closer to 20. But Visa, MasterCard handle, 80,000 transactions per second. You know much better than myself, but it's orders of magnitude bigger than the existing cryptocurrencies out there in blockchain technologies. Do you see that if there is a potential scalability bottleneck, if Crypterium ecosystem was to sort of grow to the levels that you hope that it will? And do you have some thoughts about how you will be able to continue with scalability as the ecosystem develops?
Yeah, so there is no doubt that Visa and MasterCard are high transaction, high throughput business models, and the orders of magnitude that you talk about are absolutely right, in the tens of thousands, if not 100,000 transactions per second that they can process. And yes, the blockchain for the different cryptocurrencies is much slower. But what we look to do is manage all of the blockchain transactions in the background. And our secret sauce is working with a market maker to manage trades during the day, and then even end of day settlement. So our processing of all of the transactions will happen at whatever speed it happens at in the background. With the market, we're doing an end of day settlement, and so we're managing, if you like, real time on our front end, and then end of day settlement on our back end, and working with the market to manage the risks of cryptocurrency fluctuations in the meantime.
So let's go through the user journey of someone using Crypterium. Do they need to transfer their Litecoin or their Bitcoin to a Crypterium wallet? And who maintains the keys of that wallet?
Yeah, so with Crypterium, we will offer in the initial iteration 4 different types of coin: Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Dash. And so that will be the first 4 Crypterium wallets. And what we envisage is that consumers will have the opportunity to send from their own cold storage to our service their wallet after they've gone through a KYC process. They will be able to, and an AML check on the source of funds as well. They will be able to load their currency into those four wallets. In terms of access to that, I'm going to have to defer to the technology teams on how we're managing all of the keys on all of that. But the idea is that they're hot rather than cold. And and the proposition that we have is that they will have their own Crypterium addresses for each of those 4 services, and the access into the consumer wallet is through two-factor authentication. So there's strong customer authentication for the customer to actually get into the wallet and make those payments. But when it comes to attaching a card to the Crypterium account, it's essentially attached to hot accounts. So if they select, as we said, Litecoin as their preferred cryptocurrency, when a card payment is made, there is no additional key management required.
Okay.
By the customer. They're not having to enter anything to allow access to those wallets. They're hot.
Understood. So it sounds like the debiting of the user's balance is happening off-chain. And
exactly.
Got you. Okay. Got you. But we have 2FA. So let me ask you this: as I'm head of operations here at QUOINE, and I know firsthand some of the challenges of doing KYC and AML. Are there a particular jurisdiction or region KYC standards that you are following, or do you vary it depending on the domicile of the participant that's using the Crypterium wallet?
So in terms of KYC and AML, what we're following is for now, because we've got a live use case that we're working through on testing, is in Europe, and we are partnering with eKYC companies. We have 3 that we're going through procurement process with, and until that process is completed, I won't say who is our preferred.
Okay.
But we are testing eKYC with 2 companies at the moment. And what we're looking for is the one that, of course, they're all of international standard. But what we're looking for is the one that we feel is the best for the customer journey that we want to implement. And we think both are good, but they've got some subtle differences in how they work. But they're live KYC. So when it comes to a customer, the customer needs to be there live, and they perform those checks in real time against a valid ID, so driving license or passport.
Gotcha. Okay, so help us understand in this. I think you've drawn a great picture, Marc, of sort of how you're letting people access their digital assets in basically an analog world, right? I think we talked even before we started that there's maybe 10 million people in the world that really are using crypto today. And that's a very small percentage of all the people on the planet. And it sounds like you guys have really come up with an elegant solution for letting people use their crypto assets in their daily lives with vendors that may not otherwise accept it. Tell me how the CRPT token, what role it plays in this ecosystem that you're building.
Yeah, so the CRP token for us is absolutely a utility token, and in the payments world, there's a mechanism called interchange, and the interchange is a fee structure that's used when you use your card at the point of sale. There's a payment that the merchant pays to the card issuer, and it's called the interchange fee. So what we've done is we've modeled that world for the CRP token. So every time a customer uses the Crypterium service, 0.5% of the value of the transaction will be burnt in CRPT tokens. So if a customer makes a $100 transaction, then there'll be a 50-cent charge in CRPT tokens. We do have a loyalty scheme that I can talk about later for high users and high holders of CRPT tokens, but that's the core user case. So if somebody holds $10 of CRPT tokens, then 50 cents will be burnt in that particular transaction. And so we have a fixed supply of tokens, 100 million tokens, and of course over time, as we burn the CRP2 tokens as a gas, that supply of tokens goes down over time. And so after a period of several years, we can see that the number of CRPT tokens will be considerably less. Of course, in terms of the economics of that, the reduction in supply of tokens and the demand from consumers will have an effect on the CRPT token price, but they are absolutely positioned as utility tokens.
Got it. So as the adoption of Crypterium wallets increases and the usage by your end users increases, that creates a natural, it's actually two ways the value of the token sort of appreciates over time. As people transact, Crypterium is burnt, and as more people adopt, more people store Crypterium on the wallets, and that generally limits the supply. And it's kind of old school supply demand. We should see increasing prices over time.
That's exactly the model that we have.
Excellent. Well, I think this has been a great dialogue, Marc. I've really learned a lot about the project, and well, I guess the next question that brings me to is, where can I get my Crypterium wallet? What's the next big milestone for the project? Really, two questions there. Sorry, yeah. I'm so excited by the picture you've drawn for us.
Thanks, Seth. What we have is a global vision to be everywhere, so that everyone around the world can be enfranchised with the Crypterium wallet. And the testing that we have underway is in Europe and Australia right now. We have offices right now in London and Moscow, and we will be opening, I think, our next office in Singapore, because we're working on a partnership for Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia. We are looking at another partnership for Hong Kong, and we hope to be everywhere. The challenge that we have in this world, where we bridge cryptocurrency to fiat currency, is we have to comply with all the regulations around the world,
right.
and that is the drag on our speed to market. In terms of concretely launches, we're looking at in the next few weeks to go from our beta testing in Europe to live, and the same for Australia. And I think in terms of a card proposition, we're probably 8 to 10 weeks away from a card type proposition, but there'll be bill payment functionality in the next few weeks.
That's fantastic. That is really fantastic. And I'm really honored that we can help you guys on your journey to developing a world where people can use their Crypterium-enabled wallets to pay their bills and buy candy bars at the grocery store. Well, I wouldn't have done that, but somebody would be doing that. And because I think, here at QUOINE, we feel like one of our important missions is to really help projects and bring our exchange and help projects that are actually serving the crypto economy and enabling adoption of crypto to the mainstream, and help those, have greater liquidity and better exposure. So I'm really glad that we're able to list Crypterium early next week. There'll be announcements coming out. So with that, Marc, thank you very much. Really enjoyed getting to know you and learning about the project. Anything you wanted to sign off with here tonight?
Seth, thank you very much. And we're really delighted at Crypterium to be partnering with QUOINE and providing all of your QUOINE customers the opportunity to buy CRPT tokens and hear about our proposition. And please register on our site as an early adopter, and we'll be in touch. We've got 400,000 registered, interested customers already, and we'd love to add to that and bring it to your customers too.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Marc. Looking forward to it.